We are live at Target Field, the home of the Minnesota Twins, on the home of the Minnesota Twins. News Talk 830 WCCO. It's Jason with the general manager of the Twins, Jeremy Zoll. Jeremy, it's good to see you.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for coming in, and thank you for being here. First of all, so much excitement over the matchup tonight. Hard to predict exactly when it's going to line up. I was surprised. You can still get a ticket for $30 if you want to come in. That was a cheap. Yes. Hang on a second. I'm not hearing you. So let's see is this thing got a on-off switch on it or no? I don't think so. Hello. There we go. Now we got you.
I was saying I would jump on that if $30 gets you in tonight with the weather and that matchup. So I would jump on that.
It's phenomenal. This has to be fun. Look, it's no fun for you as the general manager when the team runs into the Dodgers. You guys have been playing so well of late, and then the Dodgers show up, and it's been a tough couple of outings. But still, just as a fan of baseball, to have your ace, Joe Ryan, going up against probably the most exciting player in baseball, Shohei Ohtani, who also is going to lead off for the Dodgers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty good.
I think it'll be a great night at the park, and Dodgers come to town. We know, two-time World Series champs. Ohtani hits a leadoff homer first, in the first game of the series, and then you got a really great game on Monday night. Hard-fought loss. Zebby pitched great, but you want to get to go against the best guys, and I think it'll be fun to get to watch Joe compete against Shohei, and we'll see how it all plays out.
How do you feel about the team's performance? Because I will say it's been an interesting 2.5-3 weeks where we had flashes of seeing, hey, these guys may be hanging around the playoff picture. And then I don't know, this is sort of what happens with 500 type teams where you'll have a stretch of awesome and then a stretch where you run into the Dodgers and are like, oh boy, are we built for this or not?
Yeah, for sure. I think, when you're, hovering around 500 or you think you're about a 500 team, it's not usually win 2, lose 2. We've taken that to some extremes over the course of the year, 1-8-9 early, then went into a funk, bounced back, went into another funk, have bounced back again on this last road trip. Obviously, the last 2 games have gone the way they have, but I think it's a testament to how resilient this group has been, which started at the beginning of spring training with Pablo going down, but, a variety of different injuries that have popped up, a next man up mentality. Ryan Jeffers goes down, and Victor Caratini and Alex Jackson step up, and our catcher production hasn't missed a beat. The offense has been firing on all cylinders over the month of June, really. One of the best in the game over the month of June, 6 in the league in runs scored. So I'm really proud of where the group is at, how they keep competing, and hopefully we can even out some of those lulls. But the way they keep bouncing back after tough stretches has been really cool to see.
When you look at the decisions that you have to make, and some of this, I think, is by the nature of what happens when you have the injuries that we've had, when we've had pitching that has maybe been starting pitching in some ways have been more disappointing than we expected. You end up you bring a guy up and then it doesn't work and then they're out. And how different is your job sort of in this scenario this year? It feels like you're having to make more active in-season decisions.
Yeah, I think over the course of any season, regardless of how your roster is built, we have a nightly meeting to make sure I have enough pitching coverage for the next day. So you're always evaluating those things. Obviously, that's come to pass a little bit more over these last few days, but we've certainly been working on these different, whether it's DFA trades or small trades, to try to find different ways to upgrade the group. And, that started with Anthony Banda in spring training, acquiring Yoendrys Gomez once we're in season. Obviously, he's taken a real nice step forward. And some of them work, some of them don't. But it's all part of the process here as we try to rebuild this bullpen on the fly and keep putting the group in a position to compete. And we're right in the thick of it right now, and that's exciting.
Jeremy Zoll is here, general manager for the Minnesota Twins. Obviously, Byron Buxton is such a focus for all of us, for you as well. He is the heart and soul of the team. His performance this season has been all-star caliber. This week, really it started at the end of last week where he said, I don't want to trade. I'm happy as a Twin. And I think sometimes as fans, you're like, are you sure? Are you sure you're happy? Because you want Byron to win as well. The team came out and said, we're not going to trade him. Talk me through sort of the decision process of that.
Yeah, I think, ultimately there's been, I think the deadline rumors and speculation seem to start earlier and earlier each year. I need to start logging it to see if that's actually
what is
true.
The date when it started?
It started to, some early rumbles in early June, and I don't know. It just seems like sometimes it's so early. There was a number of national articles that came out around, buyers and sellers and top trade targets, and for that to come out in mid-June when so many teams haven't even declared their direction, I think it just led to, additional speculation that wasn't really, it was rumor and not rooted in fact. So, ultimately that happened probably a little bit earlier than even any of us were anticipating, but given it was out there, given it was creating a stir, wanted to make sure that everyone was clear on where we're at. I've had productive conversation with Byron in spring training during the season. He was very clear on where he's at last week, and I just want to make sure that was clear this week once the team came back home and had a chance to meet with the media to state where we were at, so that everyone knew that and there didn't need to be additional speculation.
Does that change if the team performance changes over the next month?
No, we feel clear on that. I feel like I was clear in my statements last night, and we're not exploring it. We're not planning to explore it, and that's not contingent on team performance.
Jeremy Zoll is with us, and obviously, that trade deadline stuff, it is fascinating how early the conversation comes, because you don't know. Like, if your team and your office, though, it's your job to play out all the scenarios, right? You guys are game planning all of this as to how this is going to go over the next month, right? Do you make the decision? Does ownership make the decision? I mean, is it as simple as we're buyers or we're sellers? And then it's on to what do we do within that category? Like, how does this work?
Yeah, I think there's a number of things to work through there. Happy to try to talk through it. Our pro personnel department, that's their sole job, is to constantly be evaluating major league talent and prospects throughout the game, so that, when any type of scenario comes up, whether it's a small trade, whether it's preparing for the deadline, preparing for the off season, that they're as prepared as possible on, every organization from top to bottom, and that work all feeds into the deadline. In terms of deciding a direction, that's a joint discussion between, baseball ops and myself and with Tom and ownership, to ensure we're aligned and talk through all the scenarios. I think there's, it's probably not quite as simple as buy and sell. I think, you could break deadline strategies into a handful of different groups. There's buyers, there's sellers, there's teams that end up kind of just holding, and sometimes, in rare cases, maybe a mixed strategy of trying to buy and sell, which is easier said than done, but gets talked about a lot. But I think, the truest reality is that, for as much as written about right now, for understandable reasons, it's good fodder in the media. So many teams are just trying to let this play out as long as possible, because we will learn a lot more over these next 30 days.
And with the wild card scenario, I mean, teams are just in it for longer. You understand, like, look, if I'm Joe Box of Donuts writing about baseball, the best way to get clicks and get people going is to say, well, the Twins are probably going to trade Byron Buxton and Joe Ryan. That said, it also is the logical thing to look at, where you say, like, who's got value? So it is a tricky thing, because it is clickbait. There's enough grains of truth in the thought behind it to be like, sure, you can understand why people are saying it, but it also is premature.
Totally.
I mean, that's sort of the
it's
box,
premature,
right?
Because on the flip side, whether it's us or whether it's really any of these teams, especially with the state of the AL right now, all it takes is one team, two teams to go on some type of winning streak, which doesn't even need to be a particularly long one.
It's
to
true.
totally change your
you're still right in the thick of it right now.
A couple games out of the wild card, 4.5 out in the division, with a lot of division games to go, and just a lot of stuff that needs to get sorted out. And so we'll just keep letting it play out. And again, to go back to earlier, like, really proud of how this group keeps competing, and I think there's a lot of positive signs to keep building upon.
That, I think, as a fan, as we talk with Jeremy Zoll, the general manager of the Minnesota Twins, that is what has made this season for me more enjoyable than I anticipated. It's because the offense is so potent and the guys don't quit, which, again, like, I'm not giving you a prize for not quitting. You're a professional, highly paid. You should not be quitting. But we've also seen what happens when teams do give up, and that's not this team. It makes them fun to watch. The flip side is the bullpen has been sort of what we feared it would be. And you feel like even with a 12-run lead, you're sort of holding your breath in the 6th, 7th, 8th innings, you know? How do you rate your performance in trying to make it work with the people that were available in baseball?
Yeah, I think all of these things are a matter of expectations. I was asked yesterday, are you has the group overachieved? And it's like, well, I don't know what baseline or starting point you were working off of. I think a lot of people tried to write off the group before the season even started. And I think if that was your stance, then there's been overperformance. I think, Tom, led off media sessions in February saying our goal is to play meaningful games in September. And some people thought that was unrealistic. And thus far, even though we're a little bit under 500 and we're not in a playoff spot as it stands today, we still have a real chance at that. Obviously, we would love to be in a different spot with the performance of the bullpen. I also think that there's positives to point to with the way Andrew Morris has been throwing the ball, the way Anthony Bond has been throwing the ball, Andres Gomez. And I think, we're going to get to see Marco Raya make his debut at some point in the days to come. We're going to keep working to mix and match and try to find ways to allow this group to take another step forward.
Jeremy Zoll is with us. Before I let you go, I do want to ask, about tonight. Obviously you're in meetings all the time. You said you've got a meeting after every game, which is sort of crazy to think about. It's how much managing a team and managing personnel happens during the season, which this is not how baseball used to be, but it is how baseball is now. Will you be able to take a moment tonight and be like, this is pretty cool?
I try to do that at some point. Probably, I think that'll probably be like some point in the second inning. Usually first inning, a couple things are going. Maybe I was running around downstairs, just got upstairs. But, knowing what our attendance numbers are supposed to be tonight and getting to watch, one of the best players that we've seen, maybe ever get to do it on both sides of the ball. Be fun to do that and see our group compete. Reminiscent of last year with the Skeens and Joe Ryan matchup. We don't have the Nelly concert to follow.
Right, too bad.
We missed Ludacris by a couple days. But, those are special to get to be a part of and get to watch and witness.
It's going to be cool. We'll have it all for you right here on 830 and on the Twins Radio Network. But if you've got nothing going tonight, it would be a great night to come on down to the ballpark. And, we also got Joe Ryan. All right. No slouch on the mound for us.
He's having an unbelievable season. And
not that I'm glad that he was sick, but it sure is nice that it lined up so these two could pitch against each other.
For sure.
Jeremy Zoll, always appreciate you. Thanks for coming over.
Yeah, thanks for having me.